The rules just changed. Congress has approved new immigration regulations that will affect millions of green card holders across the United States. If you have a green card, if you're waiting for one, or if you know someone who does, what I'm about to tell you could mean the difference between keeping your status and losing everything you've worked for. These changes are significant, they're immediate, and you cannot afford to ignore them. Welcome to US Visa Info, your most trusted source for accurate and timely information about U.S. immigration. I'm here today to break down the brand new immigration rules that Congress just overviewed. What changes for green card holders approved, and specifically how they impact green card holders. This is not speculation, this is not rumor. These are confirmed changes that are already in effect or will be very soon. Stay with me until the end because I'll give you a clear action plan for what you need to do right now to protect your immigration status. Here at US Visa Info, we make sure you're never caught off guard by immigration changes. Let me start by giving you the big picture. Congress has passed a comprehensive immigration reform package that includes several provisions specifically targeting green card holders. The stated goal is to strengthen immigration enforcement, reduce fraud, and ensure that green card holders are meeting their obligations under U.S. law. While some of these changes are reasonable, others are creating serious concerns in the immigrant community. Let's go through each major change one by one so you understand exactly what's happening. Change number 1, stricter physical presence requirements. This is arguably the biggest change and will affect the most people. Under the new rules, green card holders must maintain a more substantial physical presence in the United States. Previously, the general understanding was that you could travel abroad for up to 6 months at a time without jeopardizing your green card, and trips under 6 months were generally safe. Extended absences beyond 1 year would trigger abandonment concerns unless you had a re-entry permit. The new rules tighten this significantly. New travel restrictions and reporting requirements. Green card holders must now be physically present in the United States for at least 6 months out of every 12-month period. That means if you're spending more than 6 months per year outside the U.S., you're at risk of being found to have abandoned your permanent residence. But it gets more complex. The rule also looks at a 3-year rolling period. If you spent more than 18 months outside the U.S. in any 3-year period, immigration officials can question whether you truly intend to live permanently in America. What does this mean practically if you travel frequently for work, if you have family obligations abroad, or if you maintain a home in another country? You need to be very careful. Keep detailed records of all your trips. Save boarding passes, passport stamps, hotel receipts, anything that proves when you entered and left the United States. If you're planning an extended trip abroad, you may need to apply for a re-entry permit before you leave. This permit allows you to stay outside the U.S. for up to 2 years without abandoning your green card, but you must apply for it while you're physically in the United States. Change number 2, mandatory biometrics updates. All green card holders will now be required to update their biometrics with USCIS every 5 years. Biometrics means fingerprints, photographs, and signatures. Previously, this was only required when you renewed your green card every 10 years. Now it's every 5 years. Regardless of whether your card needs renewal, you'll receive a notice from USCIS telling you to appear at an application support center for your biometrics appointment. You must attend this appointment. If you miss it without updated reentry and long absence rules good cause, your green card can be revoked. Yes, revoked. This is not a minor administrative matter. The government can terminate your permanent resident status if you fail to comply with biometrics requirements. If you've moved and haven't updated your address with USCIS, you might not receive the notice. That's why it's absolutely critical to keep your address current using Form AR11 within 10 days of moving. Change number 3, enhanced background checks. Green card holders will now be subject to ongoing criminal background checks. This isn't just when you apply for citizenship. This is continuous monitoring. If you're arrested for any crime, even a misdemeanor, USCIS will be notified automatically through data sharing between law enforcement agencies and immigration databases. Certain crimes can lead to deportation, even if you're a green card holder. These include crimes of moral turpitude, aggravated felonies, domestic violence, drug offenses, and firearms violations. Under the new rules, the threshold for what triggers removal proceedings has been lowered. Minor offenses that previously might have been overlooked are now being scrutinized more carefully. If you have any criminal history, even if it's old or was expuned, you need to consult with an immigration attorney immediately to understand your risk. Change number 4, tax compliance verification. This is a big one. Green card holders must now prove they're filing U.S. tax returns and paying taxes. The IRS and USCIS are dual citizenship and naturalization changes, now sharing information more extensively. When you apply to renew your green card or when you apply for citizenship, you'll be required to submit tax transcripts for the past 5 years showing that you filed returns and paid what you owed. If you haven't been filing your taxes, this is a serious problem. As a green card holder, you're required to file U.S. tax returns on your worldwide income every year, even if you're living abroad. Failure to file can result in not only tax penalties, but also immigration consequences, including denial of citizenship and potential removal proceedings. If you're behind on your taxes, Work with a tax professional immediately to get compliant. The IRS has programs for people who haven't been filing. It's better to fix this proactively than to wait until USCIS discovers it. Change number 5, public charge considerations for green card holders. The public charge rule traditionally applied to people applying for green cards, but the new regulations extend it to existing green card holders as well. If you're receiving certain public benefits like cash assistance, SNAP food stamps, Medicaid except for emergency services, or subsidized housing, this can now be considered when you apply for citizenship, or if there's any reason your status is being reviewed. This doesn't mean you'll automatically lose your green card if you use public benefits, but it can be held against you. The government can argue that you're likely to become primarily enforcement updates and who is affected dependent on the government for support. If you're using public benefits, document why. If it's because of temporary unemployment, a medical emergency, or other circumstances beyond your control, gather evidence showing this. If you can demonstrate that you're taking steps to become self-sufficient, that helps. Change number 6, expanded grounds for deportation. Congress has added new categories of deportable offenses. These include material support to terrorism, even if you didn't know the organization was designated as terrorist, false claim to U.S. citizenship, even if made by mistake, and voting in federal elections if you're not a citizen, even if you thought you were eligible. These are harsh rules with no exceptions for good faith mistakes. Be very careful about any forms you fill out. If there's a question about citizenship, answer truthfully. Don't check a box saying you're a U.S. citizen when you're only a green card holder. This happens more often than you think, especially on voter registration forms. Some states automatically send voter registration forms to everyone who gets a driver's license, and people check boxes without reading carefully. One wrong checkmark can result in deportation. Change number 7, citizenship interview changes. When green card holders apply for naturalization, the citizenship interview process has been significantly expanded. The civics test now includes 100 questions instead of the previous 100, but the test is harder with more complex questions about American history and government. The English language requirements are also stricter with less leniency for older what green card holders must do now applicants or those with disabilities. Additionally, the interview now includes detailed questions about your entire time as a green card holder. They'll ask about your travels, your employment, your tax filings, your family relationships, and any interactions with law enforcement. They're looking for inconsistencies between what you say and what's in their records. Be prepared. Bring documents proving everything on your application. Don't guess or estimate. If you don't remember something, say you don't remember rather than making something up. Change number 8, expedited removal for certain offenses. Previously, if you were a green card holder accused of deportability, you had the right to a hearing before an immigration judge where you could present your case and potentially apply for relief. The new rules allow for expedited removal in certain circumstances, meaning you can be deported quickly without a full hearing. This applies to green card holders convicted of aggravated felonies or who are deemed national security threats. If you fall into one of these categories, you have very limited rights. You cannot apply for most forms of relief from deportation. You cannot appeal to a higher court in most cases. The decision is made quickly and carried important deadlines and final advice out quickly. This is why it's so critical to avoid any criminal involvement whatsoever. Change number 9, re-entry permit limitations. If you need to travel outside the U.S. for an extended period, you can apply for a re-entry permit. Previously, you could get a re-entry permit valid for 2 years and apply for another one after you returned. The new rules limit you to one re-entry permit per 5-year period. If you're someone who needs to travel frequently for extended periods, this creates a problem. You may need to reconsider whether maintaining your green card is feasible given your travel needs. Change number 10, Social Security verification. USCIS is now cross-checking green card holder information with Social Security Administration records. They're looking for green card holders who aren't working legally or who aren't paying Social Security taxes. If you're working under the table or using a fake Social Security number, this will be discovered. The consequences include deportation and criminal prosecution for fraud. Now let's talk about what you should do to protect yourself. First, if you travel, keep meticulous records. Create a spreadsheet with every trip you take. Note the date you left, the date you returned, and the purpose of the trip. Keep all travel documents. If immigration ever questions your physical presence, you'll have proof. Second, make sure your address is always current with USCIS. File Form AR-11 online or by mail every time you move. This takes 5 minutes and can save your green card. If USCIS sends you important notices and you don't receive them because your address is wrong, you'll miss deadlines and face consequences. Third, file your taxes every single year. Even if you don't owe money, even if you're living abroad, even if you don't have income, file a tax return. Keep copies of your returns and your tax transcripts. When you apply for citizenship, you'll need them. Fourth, attend all USCIS appointments. If you get a notice for biometrics or an interview, go. If you absolutely cannot attend, file a request to reschedule immediately with a valid reason and documentation. Don't just skip it. Fifth, Avoid any criminal activity. This seems obvious, but it bears repeating. Even minor offenses can have immigration consequences. Don't drive under the influence. Don't get in fights. Don't use drugs. Don't shoplift. Don't commit fraud of any kind. Any arrest can trigger immigration problems. Sixth, if you're charged with a crime, get both a criminal lawyer and an immigration lawyer. They need to work together. Sometimes a plea deal that seems good from a criminal standpoint is terrible for immigration. Seventh, don't lie on any immigration forms or at any immigration interviews. If you made a mistake on a previous application, correct it as soon as possible. USCIS can forgive honest mistakes if you correct them promptly. They cannot forgive fraud. One lie can result in permanent inadmissibility to the United States. Eighth, if you're using public benefits, document why and keep evidence that you're working towards self-sufficiency. If you lost your job, show you're actively looking for work. If you're sick, show you're getting treatment and plan to return to work when able. Ninth, maintain ties to the United States. Have a U.S. bank account. Keep a U.S. driver's license. File U.S. taxes. Own or rent a home in the U.S. Have family in the U.S. These things show you genuinely intend to live here permanently. 10th, consider applying for citizenship. Once you're a U.S. citizen, most of these rules don't apply anymore. You can't be deported except in extremely rare cases of fraud in obtaining citizenship. You can travel freely without worrying about physical presence requirements. If you've been a green card holder for 5 years or 3 years, if married to a U.S. citizen, and you meet the other requirements, apply for citizenship. It's the best protection. Let me address some common questions. Can these rules be challenged in court? Yes, and there are already lawsuits filed by immigration advocacy organizations. However, until a court blocks these rules, they are in effect and you must comply. Don't wait for a court decision. Protect yourself. Now, are there exceptions to these rules? Very few. The rules apply to nearly all green card holders. Regardless of how you obtained your status, whether you got your green card through family, employment, asylum, or the diversity lottery, these rules affect you. What if I already violated one of these rules before they took effect? That's a complex question that depends on the specific situation. Generally, if you did something before the rule changed, you can't be punished under the new rule. But if your violation is continuing, like not filing taxes, you need to fix it immediately. Can I lose my green card even if I didn't do anything wrong? Unfortunately, yes. If you fail to comply with these new requirements, for example, if you don't update your biometrics when required, you can lose your status even though you didn't commit a crime or fraud. The political context matters here. These rules passed Congress with bipartisan support, which is rare for immigration legislation. Both parties agree that green card holders should be held to higher standards of compliance with U.S. laws. However, immigrant advocacy groups are deeply concerned that these rules are too harsh and will result in many long-term residents losing their status over minor issues. There's also concern about disparate impact. These rules will disproportionately affect certain communities. Green card holders from countries with mandatory military service may have to choose between keeping their green card and fulfilling obligations in their home country. Green card holders with elderly parents abroad may struggle to comply with physical presence requirements while caring for family. Lower-income green card holders may face difficulties with legal representation when issues arise. Looking ahead, there's talk of even more changes coming. Some members of Congress want to make green cards conditional, requiring renewal every few years with proof of continued eligibility. Others want to increase fees for green card applications and renewals. Some want to limit the types of crimes for which you can get waivers. The immigration landscape is changing rapidly, and green card holders need to stay informed. What about green card holders who are elderly or have disabilities? There are some accommodations for biometrics appointments. If you cannot travel due to medical reasons, you can request a waiver or ask for USCIS to come to you in limited circumstances. For the citizenship test, there are exemptions for older applicants and those with disabilities, though these exemptions have been narrowed under the new rules. If you have special circumstances, consult with an immigration attorney about what accommodations might be available. One more critical point, be very careful about immigration scams. Whenever there are major immigration changes, scammers come out promising to help you comply with new rules for a fee. They might offer fake services, charge excessive fees for simple forms, or give bad advice. Only work with licensed immigration attorneys or accredited representatives recognized by the Department of Justice. Check credentials before paying anyone. In conclusion, these new immigration rules represent a significant shift in how the U.S. government views and treats green card holders. The era of obtaining a green card and then not thinking much about your immigration status is over. Green card holders now have ongoing obligations and face ongoing scrutiny. This isn't necessarily bad if you're following the rules, but you need to be aware and compliant. The stakes are too high to be careless. Thank you so much for watching US Visa Info today. I hope this video has given you a complete understanding of the new immigration rules affecting green card holders and what you need to do to protect yourself. If you found this information valuable, please subscribe to US Visa Info and hit the notification bell. Immigration law changes rapidly, and we're here to keep you informed every step of the way. Share this video with any green card holders you know. This information could literally save someone's immigration status. Leave a comment below with your questions or concerns about these new rules. We read every comment and try to respond to as many as possible. Remember, at US Visa Info, we're committed to empowering you with the knowledge you need to navigate the complex US immigration system successfully. Until next time, stay informed, stay compliant, and protect your status.